What's your ex from hex story? My ex just got out on bail for running over and beating a girl with a crowbar because she thought she was sleeping with her man. The girl she beat is now in a vegetative state. Thank God I got out of that one early. After we broke up, she called to tell me she was pregnant and needed $600 for an abortion. I did the math and it was impossible. I was the father. I told her I wanted to keep the baby and that I'd be happy to take it, and she could even terminate her parental rights and not have to pay child support. I would be a single dad. A week later she miscarried. That's one heck of a game of chicken. She asked me to do a triathlon her brother was doing and she was going to watch his son. I have never done one before, but she told me she really thought it would be good for me and would be proud of me if I did it. So I did. It was a whole weekend camping trip. It rained the whole time. We got there on Friday. I unpacked, set up, cooked, cleaned and did everything the whole trip. Her brother apparently forgot to register, so it was just me doing the triathlon then, which was on Sunday. Woke up at 5 AM. Jumped in the coldest water I have ever been in to start, but finished it. It was a mini triathlon, so like swim half a mile, 13-mile bike ride and a 5k run, but still that's a lot for me. Anyway, ended, went back to camp. She made me pack everything up, then told me if I could put the tent in the original cardboard box it was in, not just the bag it was in. When I said she was welcome to do it herself, she told me her ex had no issue doing it. Mind you, I'm exhausted from the goddamn triathlon and she just watched me pack up everything alone. I put it in the box but ripped it halfway down. Didn't give a crap. Drove the 3 hours home and she broke up with me on the car ride home because she just didn't see any potential in me anymore. So yay, good times. It never fits back in the box. It doesn't. So jealous and controlling, he sent me hundreds of text messages calling me a S&C T one night. When I blocked him, he sent screenshots to my old phone, 2 of the same messages. Why, you ask? Because I offered an elderly disabled man my seat on the train. A man of about 70, on crutches, who could barely stand. And apparently this made it was clear I wanted him. And that made me a yes. Hopefully he's now getting the help he needs. Psycho. Something similar happened to me once, except that the older man was an artist and I stood next to him and we were talking while he painted. My ex stopped talking to me and made this freaking drama about how disgusting I was because I wanted to frick the old man. He was a psycho, too. But I mean, what you did is something normal people do to help. WTF is wrong with people, SMH. Oh boy, my ex proposed to me publicly, at a bar, in front of all of our friends. He liked the way it went so well that he proposed to me 2 more times at 2 different bars. We were bar hopping, LOL, in our hometown, in front of everyone we know. I said yes, 3 times. So, we set a date and I planned this whole wedding. Buy the dress, set up the hall and the catering, flowers, everything. The only jobs he had were to buy rent tuxedos for himself and his groomsmen and find someone to marry us on the date we had chosen. It was getting really close to our date and he hadn't done any of the things that he agreed to do. I finally confronted him about it, about a month before this whole event that I had planned. At which time he told me that he was not going to marry me and that he didn't think that I was going to take his proposal so seriously and actually plan a wedding. 3 times. SMH. I am happily married to someone else now. One of my exes was very selfish. I had surgery on my sinuses, nose, and just wanted to rest and recover. The first day after was down, but for me, the 3rd day of surgery is the absolute worst. I felt horrible, lightheaded, body tired just from walking to the bathroom, and everything was foggy. Not to mention I had a bandage under my nose with 2 plastic straws shoved in my nose. I was in a lot of pain too. He came to my house and guilt tripped me into getting in the car with him. I got in because I didn't have the energy to fight and was naive. I faded in and out of consciousness. He stopped at Target and forced me to get out and walk with him. I thought my legs were going to give out as soon as we reached the store entrance from the parking lot. I remember him telling me how embarrassing I was to him. When we finally got to his house, I just sat in his bed and crashed. When I woke up, he was peeved because I didn't have sex with him. What a piece of crap. There are a lot of stories. Here's just a few. In the last incident she ran me over with her car and then tried to press charges on me for damaging her vehicle. I've come home from work and she was tearing apart the Glade air freshener, screaming about how I put secret cameras in the house to watch her. She would fly off the handle and then disappear for a few days and then show up at 3 AM digging through the trash. I'd regularly wake up to garbled messages and notes posted all over the house. I had to pull her child out of her arms after she was dragging her out the front door, saying she was going to drive them both off a bridge. It was a real roller coaster ride all the time. I'm so glad it's over now. My life has never been better. My ex bought a new phone and lost all his numbers. Asked me to text him so he can save my number again. As him and I drive home, I text him, "Hey sexy, what's up?" and he responds, "Hey, can't talk right now. I'll text you back in 5. I figure he's freaking with me and forget about it. As soon as we get home he goes to the bathroom. A moment later my phone lights up. X. So hey, what's up? Me. Not much. You? X. Super frisky. Wanna meet up tonight? Me. Why not right now? Frisky too. X. Okay, we'll try to make it ASAP. Cool? Me. Yeah. A moment later he comes out of the bathroom for the following conversation. X. I'm actually just gonna head home, I think. Don't feel too good. Is that okay? Me. I'm okay. X. Oh, but can you text me real quick so I have your number? Me. Sure. I send him a text while we stand in the same room. Hi. Him. Frick. I forgot what exactly happened afterwards, but I vaguely remember removing him forcefully from my apartment. A real keeper. That one. That's almost sitcom level disaster right there. Sucks you had to go through that, but at least he's gone and you got to keep a good story. Literally just happened an hour ago. My boyfriend says he's going to get a pizza. Comes home 4 hours later and tells me he fricked another woman. I've been helping his raise his son and have gotten very close to his family. My parents died when I was young and this is the first family I've had. And now I'm losing who I thought I would marry, his family, and have to move out. He never had the normal red flags. Devil in sheep's clothing. It's pretty hellish. My husband's ex-baby mama saw us at a gas station, and as we pulled out, she literally chased us down the road. The whole time she was on our butt. She was calling my now husband and screaming at him to pull over and how she was gonna beat his and my butt, all while their 3-year-old was in the front seat of her truck. The kicker was she was living with her new boyfriend. My husband got custody of their son very shortly after that incident and got an order of protection against her. Stepson is almost 6 now, and she has calmed down a lot. LOL. She tried to kill my dogs recently. Cops refused to do anything since she didn't try anything against my life. They changed their tune when I informed them if I saw her within 2 miles of my house again I would shoot her. I now have a temp restraining order that lasts for the next 30 days until a judge signs on a new one. Well, IDK who I am in the heck story. You decide. I was dating this girl in college for like 2 years. She was sleeping at my place or me at her place 3-4 days a week. We broke up one day and she was just crying and crying. She initiated it. My friend then sends me a picture of her in a wedding dress at a wedding like 2 days post breakup with the guy who I thought was her ex. Blew my socks off. Sent her a text saying congrats. Had no idea I was your side piece. She then texted me 2 weeks later trying to get me back by saying she was going to get the marriage annulled. Even printed out papers and crap. Told me I had gotten her pregnant and she had an abortion without telling me. She was an awesome, bit freaking crazy person. JK. Haven't spoken to her since and often wonder if she is married or not. Feel bad for the dude who married her, honestly. That's a lot to unpack there. LOL, you can honestly say you dodged that bullet. Put it this way, one of my fondest memories of her is the time she threw a microwave at me because she was angry at me for forcing her to cheat on me. Apparently, it was still plugged in. The microwave came within a foot or so of me. Then the cord caught and yanked it right back towards her. We both lost our crap laughing and gave up on the fight. That's the most wholesome memory I have of her after 8 years. The time she failed to beat my butt with my own microwave. Everything else was shittily calculated, selfish, or downright lazy. She'd never reciprocate massages because it made her hands hurt. Apparently, giving handies to Steve in the driveway didn't make your hands hurt. Massages are no joke. I can only go 10 minutes before my forearms basically give out. I can't believe people can do that for 8 hours a day, 5 days a week. She told me, a bisexual woman, that she found it disgusting that I had slept with men before, that she didn't want to think about it, and that I was lucky she loved me in spite of this terrible fact. She's dating a man now. I dislike that whole gold star thing for that reason. It's just shaming in a different flavor. Met my ex in high school. We dated for a while, then he moved pretty far away for college and we did long distance for a bit. Wasn't bad at first, I even visited a few times. Then it became too much and we couldn't handle the LDR anymore, so we cut ties. I kept him on all social media. BC things didn't really end on bad terms, but when I started seeing someone else he would beg for me to take him back and would write me these long beautiful texts about how much he loved me. Then he would start saying he was suicidal, so I obviously was guilted back into the relationship. But 4 months later I go back and visit. Spent $500 of my money on the entire trip and a week later he breaks up with me. Says he's not ready for commitment. Me being petty, I logged into his Instagram and saw that almost immediately after he dumped me he was talking to a girl I suspected he always liked and told her that he hadn't loved me for a while and he just needed someone there for him because he was lonely. Boy did I rip him a new one over text. I wasn't even sad, I was pee. We only went on one unofficial date, but we worked together at Subway for a while. He seemed to have a scary temper, so I told him that I didn't think we'd work out. He grabbed one of the sandwich knives and went right into the back room, cut himself a lot, and then came to show me. For reference, this wasn't some hormonal teen. He was in his mid-20s. I moved right after that, so fortunately, I didn't have to deal with the crazy. She was my friend and my gym buddy before we decided to get together. She knew about my depression and my suicidal ideation and wanted to help me. Unfortunately, her idea of help was to drink and party as much as possible. Anyway, she ended up being suicidal herself and I had to send her back to the psych ward a couple of times. She was emotionally manipulative too. Whenever I wanted to end things with her, she would claim she was feeling suicidal and that she needed my help. I eventually wised up and broke up with her for good, blocked her and told her friends not to contact me again. She has become the very thing she swore to destroy. I'm a bit late, but I'll share anyway. Throwaway for obvious reasons. Sorry in advance for any spelling or formatting issues. I'm on mobile. He sexually assaulted me 3-4 times a week for 4-5 months before I managed to stop it. I'm really ashamed of that and I don't tell a lot of people about it, so it's hard for me to even type here. I was able to distance myself from him but stayed in the relationship for another 5 months. As time went on he became more and more manipulative, controlling, etc. I went to a party with a friend once and he said the only reason he let me was because he told that friend to babysit me so I didn't do anything I'd regret. Luckily my friend told me that as soon as it was asked of him and said that he would be babysitting me for my then BF. If I went out I had to text him as often as I could. If I went an hour or so without texting him he would text my mom to find out where I was and what I was doing. We were 19. As a textbook abuser he isolated me from all of my friends and family, and I let it happen. I was lucky enough to have friends who were understanding and helped me out when I reached out for help to let them know what was going on. After we broke up, he would constantly text my mom, myself, and any of my friends who hadn't blocked him already. He would send people he knew to places he knew I'd be to report on what I was doing. I was friends with my current BF while I was dating my ex. And so my ex spread rumors that I cheated on him with my current BF. I didn't. My ex even tried to befriend my current BF's friends to try and get invited to the same parties as me, or any kind of social event tbh. After I had blocked any way for him to contact me or anyone I knew, he showed up at my house with a big box of everything I had ever given him and a handwritten letter asking me to take him back. I gave away anything worth something and threw out the rest. A month later he asked for it all back. You did nothing to be ashamed of. You were scared of this dude. And rightfully so. You found the strength to get the heck away from him. And that's what matters. So congratulate yourself for that. It's sad that I have a couple people who would fit into this. I dated this guy for about a year. Despite the fact that he was a fairly good looking guy, he had some major insecurities. He would constantly try to catch me in some sort of elaborate lie because he thought I was cheating. He went as far as creating a Tinder account with my name, wrong year of my date of birth. The city was the city he listed as the city he currently lived in, and a very obscure picture of me that I wouldn't, or any other girl for that matter, would use as a profile pic. He said some co-worker found it and he wanted to see if I'd fess up. He also said that an ex of mine sent him a message on Facebook telling him that we had recently slept together. He wouldn't say who it was or show me the actual message. If I let go of his hand while hand holding in public, he would accuse me of not wanting to be affectionate because I like some else, or some other guy might see, and I'd lose that opportunity to be with that person. He also told me I was using him for his money because he took me out for dinner twice and he paid both times even though I offered to split it. After we broke up, he created an IG account with a picture of he and this woman wearing wedding rings. A few months later, they showed them off in the picture. I received this message from his wife asking who I was and how I knew him. According to all the posts, she was pregnant with his baby and they went on a lot of really great adventures. I still don't know if the message was from an actual woman, if it was him, or if she was just roped into some elaborate scheme to try to keep in contact with me. The woman tried to add me on Snapchat and IG and still looks at my stories because my profile is public due to the fact that I use it for work. Crazy. It's totally him pretending to be a woman. Dated a guy my age in my senior year in HS. Began to show signs that he was mentally unstable when upset. I decided to break up with him one day when he picked me up in his car. When I tried to get out the car, he started driving. I told him to please let me out and would not. Instead, we ended up at his house. I would like to mention that I didn't call the police because I didn't suspect any danger from him. I just thought he was being an butthole. I did call a close friend during the drive to let her know where I was and where I was going. Once we arrived, he told me to come inside his house and I refused and was getting my phone to call a cab. I couldn't walk home since I didn't know the area too well. It was absolutely ridiculous to see this guy ball up his fists and make this childlike tantrum face and swear at me that he was going to shout at the top of his lungs if I refused him. Fast forward a week or so, the guy would send me nasty text messages, talking to me like I murdered his family or something. He began to message my Facebook friends asking for me, really embarrassing, and showed up at my doorstep asking for me. It was horrifying and I never thought people like that existed and that it would ever happen to me. He stopped when I told him I would call the cops and the school as well as his parents. Simple but an almost daily event was him having screaming fit about me having male friends and that people of the opposite sex couldn't be just friends. This was extended to my gay male friends too. All this while he was living with 2 female co-workers. When I would throw his logic back in his face, he would screenshot it and make statuses saying how crazy, insecure and nasty I was. Broke it off with him and a year later he proposed to his new GF on my birthday. Made me chuckle knowing he was most likely thinking of me most of that day, thinking he was getting some sort of revenge. All this while he was living with 2 female co-workers. The hypocrisy is painful. I was out with friends and current boyfriend and they pointed out that my ex was in the same bar. Quite unusual since he lived 5 hours away. I shrug. Haven't talked to him in 2 years. I kicked him out when I found incriminating texts that he invited a girl over to my place for sex while I was at work. She gets home in 2 hours. Get here quickly, etc. Backstory. A year after the initial breakup, one of his friends and I almost hooked up. I stopped the action when he laughed at me for asking about a condom. He strangled me. I got out. Several trips to the hospital for my neck and court cases later. Guy is kicked out of the country with aggravated assault charges. A year after that, at said bar originally, a bottle was thrown at me and shattered my elbow. I pressed charges. Come to find it was the ex's new GF who threw the bottle. I've never met her and had no idea who she was. She spent the 4th of July weekend in jail. I took a girl on a date, went out to eat. On the ride home, I heard this thudding noise. It kept happening, so I asked her if she heard it. She was passed out in the passenger's seat and he was bumping on the glass as the car went around turns and such. Took her to the on the first date. She had popped a bunch of pills in the bathroom during dinner. Yikes. I ended up dating her for about 2 years. She had a crap ton of issues, like eating disorders and other psychosis things. It was my first real GF and oh man, in hindsight, she was insane. My ex-husband decided to start shooting up during the middle of our marriage while I was pregnant with our son. Then he decided to live on the streets and not work. He went to jail, got clean, did okay for a year, then walked out on me for another woman. 2 months go by and he decided that he wanted to work things out. I did not, so he moved into my apartment. I left and gave him the place. He stalked me. One night he broke into my new home and got in bed with me. Now he tells people I'm the one that screwed him over because I left. Oh, and he burned down my first house cooking French fries. Drugs are a heck of a drug. I win. Began dating a very cute, super fun, amazing. So I thought, girl, I'm 29. She is 24. She was so easy to get along with. We had fun, took awesome road trips. We moved in together, got engaged, got married. Everything is awesome for about 3 years. Then, one day, she begins to act really weird and paranoid. Now, a little backstory. One of things she told me was that she had no contact with her parents because her father abused her. I mean, who would lie about that? She is totally not acting like herself, and finally I ask her WTF is going on. She demands to see my email. This was before text messages, because she knows I have been conspiring against her with my friends. I am really confused. So, I hand her my laptop and am like, babe, I have no secrets. You can read all the emails you want. The next day I come home from work and I find her moments from death. She is not breathing. I call 911. They come and bag her, get her on life support, the whole nine. The doctors tell me that it's likely she won't survive the night. She OD'd on fentanyl and alcohol, also widely out of character for her. Amazingly, she doesn't die, and 3 days later comes out of her coma, only to tell the doctors that I have been keeping her locked up in the basement. We have no basement, and sexually abusing her. It gets really messy. I find her parents' contact info through friends of hers that knew her brother. I call them and they come to my state. Turns out they had hired a private detective to find her and find out what was up in her life etc. because she disappeared from them after college. There was no abuse. In fact, her parents told me about her diagnosis of borderline personality disorder, and she had episodes like this in high school and college where she insisted her boyfriend was abusing her. Anyway, I immediately filed for divorce. She had lied to me about her entire life. She dragged me through a year-long divorce, constantly lying to judges etc. She would get lawyers to take her case because she convinced them I was an abuser. Only after they found out the truth and that we had no money they would drop her. Then she would get another one, so it took forever. Worst part was, she stole my dog and I never got her back. Crap must have been terrible. This girl I knew asked me out and we seemed to get along quite well, so I thought, why not? I knew her mother wasn't a fan of me, so we kept it quiet for a while, hoping that maybe her mum would warm up to me. Well, her mum found out and crap hit the fan. I thought maybe my GF would try and call her down, but boy was I wrong. A couple of days after her mum found out, my GF suddenly sided with her mum and they both really started abusing me. I noped out, but then they both started stalking me everywhere I went. I couldn't get away from them. Neither of them drove, so they would catch public transport from their side of the city to mine just to abuse me. They would wait at places they knew I frequented. I thought that they may have gotten tired and over it, but it kept going for a couple of months. Every time I came across them, all I got was screaming and shouting absolute balls from the both of them. I finally decided to take action and get a restraining order. They tried a couple of more times, but they eventually gave up. I had very little trust in women, and people in general, for a long time after that. It was one of the most traumatic things I have been through. Oh, and I don't think we were dating for even 3 whole weeks before her mum found out. Crazy runs in her family, I'm assuming. Oh boy, my ex would not let me wear bikinis, would not let me wear tight dresses or short skirts, would not let me wear push-up bras with a slightly tight shirt, would not let me talk to my guy friends, logged in on all my social media accounts, including my old Reddit account, had to delete because of him. He was also logged in on my Google Photos and would question why I took photos. Broke up with me out of the blue, then 2 days later tried crawling back to me. I gave him 2 weeks to just talk. Then he asked again. Told him no. He got angry and accused me of cheating. Called me over 100 times. Month later I'm out with a new guy I met. He spams my phone half the night with voicemails. He contacted me on Instagram telling me I'm not getting away. He told me he was going to kill himself and that it'd be my fault. He had his sister text me to ask for his stuff, weed, gifts he gave me, back. He had his manager text me and ask me to give him another chance. So glad he's gone. If you are new to the channel, you can subscribe. I publish new videos every day. Until then, check another video. Bye for now.